My name is Felix and I am your host for today's episode of My name is Felix and I am your host for today's episode of What About It? So let's dive right into the exciting mix.
Let's dive right in. Let's dive right in. Right in. Starship updates. Right in. Let's dive. Right in. Right in. Let's dive. Right in. You rock.
There we go. Now you can hear me. Hey everybody! Thank you for joining in. OBS is fighting me again as always. We have 1,100 people watching, and we have no audio. I got it. Thank you, thank you very much. Oh my God! CRS-21 is launching today. It's going to be the first Cargo Dragon V2 launch. So that is going to be absolutely fantastic to watch. I've been looking forward to this for 2 weeks or so by now. It's got scrubbed from yesterday, and the weather doesn't look too good today either, but fingers crossed that it'll work. Let me just real quick see if we have an update on that, but I think it's still the same thing. I'm watching a weather app as well to see if anything changes, but yeah, it's still pretty cloudy at the Cape, so we'll have to wait and see. We have another 40 something minutes, 42 minutes until SpaceX starts its stream, and of course I'll be broadcasting that as well. Hopefully SpaceX does the launch broadcast this time. Vandenberg last time, Sentinel-6 was NASA. Yeah. They did a fantastic job with a few hiccups and a lot of stuff that was not rocket related. But we'll have to wait and see what it does today. If it is NASA again, it might be that I might be talking more than on the Sentinel-6 launch because, yeah. We'll have to wait and see though. Where are you all from, guys? Tell me where you're from. I love to see all the people from all around the world. It's always amazing from where you are. Chat's going pretty fast right now. I hope the moderators are keeping up. We have new members here. Thank you, Dokuta Tada. Thank you for joining the channel. It's one of the ways of supporting my work. Actually, you can become a YouTube member. Okay, wow, there's the chat going. Yes, thank you all for joining. It's absolutely fantastic. Do we have somebody from Japan here today? Because Hayabusa did an absolutely awesome job of delivering some very, very special stuff from far away. Oh God, we have people from everywhere. This is absolutely Florida. There you go. Are you close enough to watch the launch? Step outside. It's definitely, I mean, if you're from Florida, you know this stuff. If you haven't watched a rocket launch yet, live, it's so worth it. I watched CRS-20 go up, and that was absolutely awesome. That was the last Cargo Dragon version 1. We have another member. Thank you very much. But the chat is going. Reasons why. Thank you very much for joining the channel. Absolutely awesome. Lots of people from India. Very nice as well. Israel, New Jersey, Iowa. Iowa is where Tim Dot comes from, I think. He's in Boca Chica right now. If COVID wasn't going on, I would be sitting in Boca Chica as well. But yeah, the quarantine, 2 weeks of quarantine and all that kind of stuff is too crazy for me. England, Ohio, Colorado, Greece, Argentina, absolutely awesome. Massachusetts, Hungary, Sweden, we've got it all. USSR, there you go. Very nice. Thank you all for joining. We have 1,200 people watching. All right. Let me give you a brief update on CRS-21 if you have not watched the latest episode, which is from Tuesday, because I did not release an episode on Friday because I anticipated a Starship hop, which obviously didn't happen yet. We can talk about that a little bit later. If you've got questions, tag me. And oh my God, it's still going. Thank you guys for joining in. Like the stream, that helps a lot. If you haven't done so yet, just click the thumbs up. It helps others to find the stream. The algorithm sees that as an interaction and ranks the stream higher up. So like and like and like and like. It doesn't cost a penny and it helps a lot for other people to find the stream. All right, CRS-21. We have a booster that has lifted Doug and Bob to the International Space Station. So it is a pretty historic booster that is flying today. It's done another Starlink mission and a third mission I can't get from the top of my head right now, but I think I have it here. An Aces 2. An Aces 2, Starlink, and Bob and Dog, which is something. So it is launch number 4 for this booster. And it's a Cargo Dragon V2, and that might not sound like much, but it actually is a lot. It's 50% more cargo. It is the same frame as the Crew Dragon is using, but obviously I had a very nice picture on my last episode. Maybe I can bring that up here. Give me a second. Go into my episodes folder. It should be right in there, because it looks very different on the inside. On the outside, it is very much the same thing. But on the inside, it is something very, very different. Okay, let me just, that should be, yeah, that is the Cargo Dragon from the inside. You can see my very, very small mouse pointer here. And it's got 50% more cargo space than the old Cargo Dragon, which is a huge improvement. It can automatically dock, so you don't need the Canadarm anymore. It's got all the features a Crew Dragon would have, minus the life support for, of course, temperature management. All that stuff is a little different. It has only 2 fins, but I couldn't find anything about if the propulsion system is changed. So it should, in theory, still have the Super Dracos, or if anybody else knows different, scream out in the chat right now. I couldn't find anything about that. It would be interesting. That's why I didn't mention it on the last episode, because I wasn't too sure if it has the Super Dracos. But according to the NASA documents I was able to find about the changes they did to the Cargo Dragon V2, It has fins on the trunk. It is carrying, on this mission, it is carrying some absolutely awesome payload. A few very interesting science missions that I featured on the episode as well. One is called Bioasteroid, which is about biologically extracting resources from asteroids. To do in situ resource utilization. But it doesn't do that with machinery. It basically does it with bacteria. That's the idea behind it. So that is super awesome. It is carrying the Nanorex Bishop airlock, which is going to expand the abilities of the ISS quite a bit, because it is an airlock that is used to separate payload and wait, let me see if I can find that as well. Let me put on the big camera here again for a second. I should be able to show you that as well. 1 second. I'll turn this off. It is pretty awesome. That is all the set. There it is. Okay. This is a video that was released by NASA themselves. Let me put up the. There we go. That's the video, and it shows the team from Nanorex obviously working on the Bishop airlock, but it also has a very. This is the airlock itself. So it is not a typical airlock that you would use to do an EVA, but this thing can attach payloads on the outside and on the inside. So you can open up the hatch and release nanosats and stuff like that. Here, there you go. That's what it is. So it is attached to the International Space Station, and then the Canadarm can take it off, and you can release payloads from inside, and you can also attach payloads on the outside. So that is very interesting because it is built by a private company. We're going for private sector here. Very, very interesting stuff. All right, gonna switch back to the big camera. So that is the rough overview of today's mission. Of course, it's a very rough overview, and there's a more detailed one on Tuesday's episode, which is if you haven't seen it yet, it's definitely worth it, even after the launch. So it is a very, very nice mission coming up today, and that's why I'm streaming it. You might have noticed that I have stopped streaming so many Starlink launches lately, because first of all, I had a lot of work behind the scenes. You might have seen lots of improvements on the episodes. That is a lot of work in the background, and I would never be able to do this without the team. So huge shout out to the team. And that's one of the reasons why I stopped, or not stopped, or didn't do all the Starlink launches recently. But this one is definitely worth it. It is, it's a premiere, basically. So if everything goes well, we're going to see the first Cargo Dragon V2 launch in history. That is something, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Okay, let me just see something here real quick. And maybe a Starship flight. Yeah, Airbreeze has the first question for tonight, and he's asking if it would be possible that we see a Dragon launch and a Starship launch today. That's a tough question. I know from Tim, I've talked to him that he's camping out in Boca Chica, not knowing much right now. There is not that much official information, and there has been a lot of shifting of test dates. Right now we have today, tomorrow, and Tuesday, I think, set up as. Actually, I have the page up here. Let me just refresh that real quick because it's constantly changing. And that's one of the tabs I always have open. Yeah, okay, so it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday scheduled. Today is a short test window, 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. And then the next few days, it's 8 to 5 or 8 to 5:30, which is longer. And I think the main reason why they probably won't launch the Starship today is because CRS-21 is going on. Why spread the butter so thin? And even if it's not directly related, of course, because one is a prototype test and the other one is a regular CRS mission. But still, I would be very surprised if there was any flight activity today. I'm pretty sure there's not going to be. I'm hoping for Monday, tomorrow. My stream right now is set up for tomorrow, so I will be streaming it as soon as I know anything about when a flight is actually going on. But right now, the Starship is already hopping, but only on the calendar. So we'll have to wait and see about that. Yeah. Okay. Let me just see something real quick here. 1 second. We have still all systems are go from SpaceX an hour ago. And the weather report has not changed yet. And my weather app is still showing 68% clouds. Fingers crossed that we actually see a launch today. It's not looking too good right now, but we're waiting and we've got the fingers crossed. And I don't know. Does anybody know on the chat of the viewers right now when is the backup date for today? Is that tomorrow? Range should be clear, right? Yeah, range should be clear. Should be tomorrow then. Let me check. Yep, the next launch would be Delta 4 Heavy on December 10th. So the range should be clear. Yeah. Okay, so if it gets scrubbed today, we should see action tomorrow, which is 30% violation. It's not the best either, but it is 70% go. Today is 60% go, and we can only cross our fingers and wait and hope that actually something happens. Okay, I have a super chat. Thank you for the super chat. All the money from super chats, Patreon, YouTube members goes directly into the studio or into the team. I buy hardware for the team. I upgrade the studio with hardware that might still be missing. Recently, I got a really nice new camera, for example, the 4K camera. You might have seen the picture improvements on the episodes. That is directly funded by super chats and Patreon and YouTube members. So thank you. Thank you, Felix and the whole team. My mother is from Wetter, a town in western Germany in the federal state of North Rhine-Westphalia near Dortmund. Yeah, I know Dortmund. I don't know Wetter. I've been to Dortmund many times in my life. So greetings to your mom. Very nice. Very nice. All right. And Epic Daniel, thank you for the super chat. That's much appreciated. All right. Let me look up some more facts for today's launch. So it lifted the booster for those who have recently joined. It lifted the booster's first flight was Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley to the International Space Station Demo 2. So it is a very historic booster. B1058 is launching again. It's the fourth flight and hopefully the fourth landing. And yeah, it's pretty impressive how SpaceX is now. They are at 7 launches with 1 booster by now. I still vividly remember the times when watching a rocket launch was just about the rocket going up, and now with SpaceX, it's a fixed thing that you can also see the landing, and they seven launches with 1 booster is absolutely impressive. Even 4 is absolutely impressive, and yeah, it's pretty amazing how they get sooty over time, and it's a new world, and it's absolutely awesome every time I see it, and every time you probably see it. It's just amazing how they do this. So it's going to be is it actually going to be a landing on landing zone 1 or landing zone 2, or is the ship out? I don't even know about that. That would be interesting. It should be a land back to return to launch site landing. Does anybody know? Doesn't say anything here. It's probably drone. Yeah, it's drone. Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. Offshore. Yep. Nice. We have the Nightbot in now. That's the first time we're using it. So if it blocks you or anything, it's just because it's not completely configured yet. But the moderators are working on it in the background, and there are tons of commands that you can type in to see some nice data. Yeah, it will land on. Of course, I still love you. Exactly. Very nice. What, 6-7 minutes after launch normally. That's going to be absolutely awesome. And one downside of landing boosters, of course, is that you also have to watch the landing site weather. The recovery zone is also important. So it's always on SpaceX launches. It's always 2 weather forecasts you basically have to watch. and that doesn't make it more. Doesn't make it easier for SpaceX for sure. So fingers crossed. Yeah, fingers crossed if that the weather holds today. Let me. Right now the weather app says 30%, 31% cloudy, so it could improve. But if I go, the problem is if I go 1 hour further, it gets worse. So around launch time, it's still 68. Yeah, that doesn't change much. And then it goes back to 31. So right around launch time, we have lots of cloud cover. And that could be a thick cloud layer rule. And that could prevent us from watching the launch. But we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. Nothing, no updates yet. So it's still go. Everything, all systems are go. SpaceX tweeted a really, really nice video here of the capsule on the pad, which is really, really awesome to see. It looks very much like a crew launch because it's about the same shape. The capsule is about the same. The trunk looks a bit different. It has only 2 fins. But other than that, from the outside, there is not that much difference. And inside that trunk here is the Bishop airlock that is attached inside the trunk. And the whole capsule is packed all the way up with all sorts of science, resupply for the International Space Station, of course, so food, clothing, replacement parts that they might need, and then of course the science. There are some university science projects on it again, smaller stuff, and then of course the main projects. One of the science what's really interesting about this capsule is that I found out when I researched for Tuesday's episode is that many of the science missions that are on this Crew Dragon are about humanity exploring deeper into the solar system. So that is another solid indicator for where we're heading and where NASA is heading with the International Space Station as well. For example, there is one mission on it that is researching how to do, it's actually something pretty simple that we do on Earth a million times every day. It's blood screening. How to find out if somebody has an infection. What kind of infection is it? What's the sickness the astronaut has? You cannot do that in space yet. And so they are researching how to do blood screening in space, which will be absolutely necessary for trips like 6 months to Mars. You have to have the ability to actually diagnose somebody who is sick, and that's what this project is about. And all the other projects as well are about exploring space, like the resource utilization mission that is going up. It's called BioAsteroid, which is about in situ resource utilization, not with machines, but actually biologically. So they are going to insert bacteria into the rocks and see if the bacteria is able to extract the minerals from the rocks that the astronauts actually want to extract out of it, which is a follow-up to BioRock, which was kind of the same thing, but not for asteroids, but actually for on planets like Mars, for example. So you can upgrade your soil, so you can actually plant crops. You can insert microbes into the soil to refine it, to actually be able to plant some potatoes and science the shit out of it. As we've seen on The Martian, it's not as easy as it was in the movie, obviously. So you have to upgrade the soil first, so to speak, and that's what that mission was about. And then this follow-up is about doing the same, but with asteroid soil. And all these science missions basically are focused on furthering or improving our abilities when we are not on Earth, and that is just absolutely awesome. How we are expanding our abilities basically every day right now. This is has been going on for a while now, not just with SpaceX either. Hayabusa 2 just brought back asteroid samples. Chang'e 5 is returning moon samples again. SpaceX is getting the Starship ready. If you have questions about that, by the way, tag me, send it in. My moderators will pick up the questions and I'll answer them for you as good as I can, because official information about the Starship launch right now is rare and is really hard to get. I have a few inside contacts, but even they, there must be some fluent data or actually date setups internally at SpaceX right now. It's everything's very fluent right now. Anything that changes internally can change the date as well. But nonetheless, no matter when it is going to fly, that is the key to all these science missions, basically. If Starship works, our abilities will grow so much, will be widened so much. Our horizon in exploring space will be widened so much that all these missions, all these science missions that are going up with the Cargo Dragon V2 right now will be very, very much necessary. So yeah, it's all in preparation for that next footstep, hopefully in reddish soil this time. That would be absolutely awesome. Yep, that would be absolutely awesome. And that's what we're here for today. We're hopefully going to watch the launch, and SpaceX has not done an update yet, so it's all still go. We have another 20 minutes to go for the SpaceX launch stream, and then we'll hopefully know more about if they are gonna go for launch today. Yeah, Hayabusa was an absolutely epic mission, absolutely epic. But also Chang'e 5. I watched a short video of the robotic docking in lunar orbit. I think the last time we returned samples from the moon was obviously the last Apollo mission, I think was the last time, or was it the Russian? I don't know from the top of my head. It was in the 70s though. It was 74, 76, something like that. So that's been a long time, and it's a flawless mission. They've launched the rocket, sent it over there, lands, it picks up the samples, goes back up into orbit, docks with a sister module, and then returns it all back to Earth. It worked absolutely awesome. And Hayabusa 2 is just way out there. I watched the whole mission unfold over time. It's been going on for a while now. And yeah, it's those are the things that amaze me the most. The science missions, the robotic science missions that actually are so complex. There are so many steps that can go wrong, that can somehow just slightly go differently, and even that changes the whole mission outcome, and they have to on the fly adjust for that most of the time, and they always come up with a solution. And then in the end, it's the best reward for these scientists if the mission actually works out. Is absolutely flawless. We have a few new NASA. Okay, so NASA is doing the stream right now, it seems, and it seems already have the stream up. At least one of my... There we go. Something's changing. Something's changing. Let's put that to full screen and see... That's just music playing there right now. Give me a second. Need to set this to... That's the setting I need, I think. There we go. Yeah, it's just music playing. I'm gonna turn it down. My OBS is fighting me, so if there are sound problems or anything, scream in the chat. I will definitely see that. 22 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely awesome. Fingers crossed that we can actually see the first Cargo Dragon V2 launch today. That would be absolutely epic. We have a few more questions. I'll try to answer them before SpaceX is actually doing something here. Ricardo Nuna Silva is asking, looks like the launch time changed to 16:17 GMT. Best regards from Portugal. Yes, it did. If it's still wrong in the stream's description, that is just because it is the same stream as from the scrub. And I might have actually not changed the description because I was watching SpaceX in Boca Chica closer than SpaceX at the Cape right now, obviously. But yeah, launch time is 16:17 GMT, so that should be in exactly 20 minutes from now. Pickle Key is asking, why won't the Lunar Starship have fins? because it does not re-enter. It doesn't have a heat shield either, and the fins are only needed for re-entry, for a guided skydive flight back down to the landing pad. And obviously, if you're not returning back through the atmosphere down to the planet, you don't need the fins and you don't need the heat shield and a few other things as well. So it is quite the different ship, and I'm very much looking forward to see it fly. Epic Daniel, when do you think SpaceX will launch a Starship to Mars, and when will they put humans on the Starship? Will the first Mars mission be successful? Okay, so I'll jump to the last bit of the question. Will it be successful? I think chances are high that it will be, because they will test a lot with the Starship before they actually send one to Mars. Even uncrewed, even just a cargo version would need. Musk said at one point that he intends to launch hundreds of Starships before sending one to Mars, because Starships can launch, in theory, what they stated is 3 times a day. So hundreds of launches don't take that much time. They'll use it for Starlink and for any commercial payload customer that is willing to send something up with the Starship in the initial phase, which, if it works, will be pretty fast. So they will be launching and launching and launching and trying out and testing. They have a contract going on with NASA to research orbital refueling. That will take a lot of launches as well, and so on and so forth. So there will be tons of launches before a Starship launches to Mars. And so I think the chances are really high that that first mission will succeed. But when? And that would be the first part of the question. It's really, really hard to say. Maybe 2024 for cargo, and 2026, 2028 for crewed launches. I think it'll happen in the 2020s, not in the 2030s. I think I'm pretty sure that it'll be less than 10 years. But everything else is really, really hard to say. You can't really. I honestly couldn't tell you. It's really, really hard. I'm gonna put my camera a little bit larger here. There we go. Okay, so thank you. Good question, but it's really, really hard to answer. Maybe 2024 for cargo, 2026 for crewed. That would be fast, in my opinion. Debazish Root is asking, hey Felix, are you ever going to do a setup reveal? A setup reveal? My studio? I had that on the 100K live stream. I had that on the 10K live stream. And I do that frequently, actually. I've done that with TJ, I think, before as well. I don't know. TJ from I Need More Space. There we go. Put that up real quick here.
TS is ready for launch.
It's just the intro. Okay, we're getting there. We should get some more information soon. Thank you for the super chat, Jose. Thank you very, very much. You rock. Thank you. We have Take 6 back. Thank you for the super chat. It's much appreciated. We have a new member, Brett Wright. Thank you very much. Absolutely awesome to have you on the team. Don't forget to connect your Discord account inside the Discord app. You can link it to your YouTube, and then you'll see the What About It Discord server appear, where there's the heart of the community, basically. I'm there every day.
Looking at a live view of Falcon 9 on launch pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center, and we're about to launch a Dragon spacecraft. Liftoff is targeted at 11:17 a.m. Eastern Time. My name is Andy Tran, and I'm a production supervisor here at SpaceX.
Yep.
It's great to be here with you to cover our 21st commercial resupply mission to the International Space Station for NASA. On screen and on top of Falcon 9 is an upgraded version of our Dragon vehicle. We've seen this new vehicle fly people twice now. The first was on our Demonstration 2 mission earlier this year with NASA astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley, and most recently on the Crew 1 mission with the four NASA astronauts who are currently still living and working on the space station. For today's mission, instead of people, we'll be transporting cargo, and this will be the first flight of cargo in our upgraded Dragon.
Super Dracos.
It's worth highlighting that all CRS flights going forward will fly from pad 39A, and late cargo load will be done through the crew access arm. To this day, Dragon remains the only spacecraft currently flying that's capable of transporting significant amounts of cargo to and from the Earth. Once Dragon reaches its destination, it will be the first time that we have 2 Dragons docked at the orbiting laboratory at the same time. Between Crew Dragon and the cargo resupply missions, at this time we are anticipating that there will be a Dragon spacecraft attached to the International Space Station at all times throughout 2021.
Awesome.
And one final milestone to highlight today. If all goes according to plan, today's launch will mark the 100th successful mission for Falcon 9. So a lot of excitement ahead in the next hour. We are targeting an instantaneous launch window, currently at T-minus 13 minutes and counting, with all systems currently go at both our Kennedy Space Center and SpaceX Mission Control in Halcyon, California. So with that, let's take a closer look at today's Falcon 9 and Dragon spacecraft.
Okay, short thing for those who do not know, the instantaneous launch window comes because
this is going to be SpaceX's 24th launch this year, and as I mentioned, this is the cargo configuration of our new Dragon spacecraft. This version of Dragon is designed for up to 5 flights, while the previous version of Dragon can only support 3. Dragon was also designed from the beginning to be reused, so we are hoping to refly this vehicle again in the future. To date, 9 of our CRS missions have launched flight-proven Dragons. Today, we'll be delivering approximately 6,400 pounds of cargo to the space station, including critical materials to support dozens of science and research investigations that will occur on board the orbiting laboratory. We'll go into a little bit more detail on some of that research later on in today's webcast.
Now the picture is gone again, but I'm sorry, I'm going to turn down the volume here real quick. On the right side of the screen, if they show the same camera angle again that they did just, you can almost see the Starship launch mount. That's why I was looking at the screen so much, because I want to have some more information.
Super Draco engines, which not only power Crew Dragon, but will also carry astronauts away from Falcon 9 to safety in the unlikely event of an emergency on the pad or during ascent. We've also removed 2 trunk fins used only for abort scenarios, and in the pressurized section, the seats and crew displays have been swapped for cargo racks. Lastly, the environmental control systems has also been reduced in both size and complexity.
Yep.
And while this Dragon will be flying for the first time, the Falcon 9 first stage, which is the bottom 2/3 of the vehicle, is a flight-proven booster. Today's mission, CRS-21, will be its 4th flight.
Yep.
It previously supported the Demo 2, Anasis 2, and most recently, the Starlink mission in October. To date, we've had 99 successful Falcon 9 launches. 42 of those were on reflown boosters. And today, we'll be attempting to recover the first stage on our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, stationed in the Atlantic Ocean. You can see it on screen right now. And for those keeping count, if we do successfully land Falcon 9 today, this will mark our 68th booster landing and the 35th successful landing for our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You. And finally, above the first stage is our second stage. It has a single Merlin vacuum or MVAC engine, which ignites after the first stage separates.
Yeah.
The second stage is what will carry Dragon to its intended orbit, allowing the spacecraft to eventually rendezvous with the International Space Station.
LOX filling has begun in the stage 2. That is why it is steaming right now. That is the part of the reason why they are using
T-minus 10 minutes and 20 seconds and counting. The SpaceX team is working no significant issues. For propellant, the go, no-go poll was conducted at the T-minus 38-minute mark, and propellant loading began shortly after that, around the T-minus 35-minute mark. At this point, RP1 fuel is completely loaded on the second stage and almost done on the first stage. For liquid oxygen, it's currently underway on both stages and should complete around the T-minus 2-minute mark.
Yep.
We're also loading helium gas into both stages. Falcon 9 uses helium as a pressurant to backfill the propellant tanks, as liquid oxygen and RP1 are consumed by the Merlin engines during ascent. For Dragon, we've also began its startup sequence at the T-minus 35-minute mark when it coordinated timing with Falcon 9. It's currently undergoing vehicle health checks with the next big step just before liftoff, when the Dragon transitions to internal battery power. The range is standing by and ready to support. As for weather, a bit better than yesterday. We're looking at a 40% probability of violation with the primary weather constraint of thick clouds. There may also be some precipitation in the thick clouds that we are monitoring and will continue to monitor all the way until T0. Other than that, with the launch team, Falcon 9, Dragon, and Range reporting green, and at T-minus 9 minutes and counting, all systems are go for launch of CRS-21 today.
Awesome. Looks much better than I thought. When I looked at the weather app, it looked much worse. So this is actually surprisingly good. And like I said, this down here, that little thing here, is the Starship launch mount.
Since SpaceX began flying Dragon in 2012, our vehicles have delivered some really cool and vital scientific experiments to the orbiting laboratory, and today's mission is no different. Dragon will be carrying dozens of research payloads to the space station, including research from the National Laboratory, operated by the Center for the Advancement of Science in Space, or CASIS. There are more than 20 payloads sponsored by NASA and the National Lab on today's mission, representing more than 50 science experiments, all of which are intended to benefit life on Earth. Let's take a few minutes and look at some of the groundbreaking research from CASIS that will be aboard the CRS-21 mission.
SpaceX's 21st commercial resupply services mission to the International Space Station is ready to launch from Kennedy Space Center. This mission will bring critical cargo, research, and technology demonstration payloads to the orbiting laboratory. The ISS National Laboratory is proud to sponsor more than 15 payloads on this mission, representing dozens of experiments to further fundamental and applied research through space-based inquiry and to engage the next generation of researchers and explorers. Here's a quick look at some of the payloads on SpaceX CRS-21. 3 projects on this mission are funded by the National Institutes of Health through its joint multi-year Tissue Chips in Space initiative with the ISS National Lab. Tissue chips are small devices engineered to grow human cells on an artificial scaffold to model the structure and function of human tissues. Studying tissue chips in space may accelerate pathways for understanding disease and developing new treatments for use on Earth and beyond. In 2019, a team of researchers from the University of California, San Diego sent a brain organoid model to space for the first time ever to study neurological diseases in microgravity. Based on findings from that initial investigation, the team is launching a second payload to further examine how microgravity affects the survival, metabolism, and cognitive function of brain cells in an organoid model. Bristol Myers Squibb, a leading pharmaceutical company, is launching a protein crystallization investigation aimed at improving drug formulation and delivery for patients on Earth. In this experiment, the team will study the crystallization of monoclonal antibodies in space to improve their crystallization back on the ground. Monoclonal antibodies are lab-created proteins designed to interact with specific targets called antigens and are used in the treatment of several diseases, including cancer. Did you know that more than 7 million tomato seeds have been sent to low Earth orbit and exposed to microgravity? That's right. Tomatosphere is an education program in which students and teachers around the country compare the germination rates of space-flown seeds and Earth-based seeds. The program provides students with a glimpse into how the unique microgravity environment of the ISS affects plant growth. Speaking of education, this mission includes more than 30 experiments from the Student Spaceflight Experiments Program, which provides yearly opportunities for students and communities around the world to leverage the space station for research using mixed-sticks testing tubes. Investigations from this year's participating students span a variety of research areas, including the physical and life sciences, as well as plant biology. Since its inception in 2010, the program has engaged more than 125,000 students in space-based projects.
Awesome. Very nice.
Many of the investigations on this mission build on previously flown experiments. Such research serves to advance the knowledge gained through space-based inquiry, delivering value to our nation and driving a robust, sustainable, and scalable market in low Earth orbit. We look forward to this launch and the important research that will be completed on our nation's orbiting laboratory in the coming months. To learn more about all ISS National Lab sponsored research on this mission, please visit issnationallab.org.
Now this is surprising. They didn't talk about the...
This is just a small sample of the dozens of research experiments that Dragon will take up to the space station. For more information on the exciting microgravity research happening on the orbiting lab, you can follow @space_station on Twitter. We are currently under contract with NASA to resupply the space station through 2024 as part of a second commercial resupply services contract award. These missions will use the new version of Dragon, which can fly both cargo and people. And today's mission marks the first flight under this new contract, and we're super excited to continue this partnership with NASA. Flying NASA astronauts and helping keep the space station fully operational is a top priority for us here at SpaceX. We are just past T-minus 4 minutes and continuing to count down for an 11:17 a.m. Eastern launch to the International Space Station. In these last few minutes, Falcon 9 is performing final health checks on its primary communications, avionics, and propulsion systems in preparation for flight. Just to give you a recap of what's been happening at the T-minus 7-minute mark, we began engine chilling. This is where we inject a small amount of super chilled liquid oxygen to prepare the 9 first-stage engine turbopumps for full propellant flow during flight. You might hear the call-outs that engines are sufficiently chilled later on in the countdown. At the T-minus 4-minute mark, the transporter erector, which is that large truss structure next to Falcon 9, began to retract away from Falcon 9 in preparation for liftoff. In about a minute around the T-minus 2-minute mark, liquid oxygen should complete loading on the second stage, and that will be the last of our propellant loading. At the T-minus 1-minute mark, Falcon 9 flight computers will enter startup mode and guide the rocket through the rest of the countdown. Shortly after that, the SpaceX launch erector will give the go for launch, and finally at T0, the rocket is released from the hold down clamps for liftoff, after which the strong back fully retracts away from the rocket, clearing way for Falcon 9's ascent.
Falcon 9 is a damn
Checkouts
sexy
of
rocket.
the second stage thrust vector control actuators are also underway. You often hear people refer to this as an engine wiggle test. This is when we move the thrust nozzle slightly to make sure that the guidance hardware is a go for flight. We do the exact same checkouts on the engines for the first stage, except that occurs just seconds before ignition. Dragon is also performing its final health checkouts to make sure all of its primary systems are ready for its rendezvous with the space station. The range remains a go for launch, and whether we are still continuing to monitor. Let's listen into the nets for the last few minutes of terminal count.
All right, I'm going to really quick do some reading here of super chats and stuff. I hope I didn't miss anybody. Jose, thank you very much for the super chat. Take 6
we have
big
some white
back.
clouds starting to form around Falcon 9. This is completely normal for us at this stage in the countdown. That is liquid oxygen condensing when it meets the warmer ambient airs of Florida.
Yep. Don, thank you very much for the nice comment as well. Jonathan, absolutely awesome. Thank you for the support, everybody, for joining the channel. It's just absolutely awesome to see a Falcon 9 on the pad every time, especially with the Cargo Dragon V2 on top, and this should be something. We're 1 minute away. Everything looks go still. Looks really good.
And we've just passed the T-minus 1 minute mark. Both stages are beginning to pressurize for launch.
Come on. Like the stream. We have 2,000 people watching right now. Absolutely awesome. We have a huge family of people watching this launch. Thank you for joining. 35 seconds to go. Thank you for the super chat, Bimmer Geezer.
We are reaching the T-minus 30-second mark. All systems are go for launch. This is mission CRS-21.
Come on. 20 seconds.
Last mission of Dragon for this year.
Come on. This looks good. Blue skies. Come on. Light it. Light it. Yes! We have a liftoff. Woo! Some audio problems, but still absolutely awesome. There we go. Beautiful. Here we go. CRS-21 off towards the International Space Station. Absolutely awesome. You can see how much darker that booster is. Forced flight. Absolutely awesome. Very nice. Very, very nice. Yes, we're go. So cool. And the cargo dragon is, by the way, is going to dock in 25 hours or so from now on. So tomorrow you can watch the docking. There we go. Beautiful.
T plus 50 seconds into flight.
Yeah, no clouds about the
Falcon
pad at
9
all.
is carrying our upgraded Dragon vehicle to low Earth orbit.
Nice.
In a few seconds, we'll be passing max Q, which is the moment where the vehicle will experience
Engines
the highest amount of
throttling down.
aerodynamic pressures.
Yep. Oh, wow, look at that. Beautiful shot. Oh, wow. Really nice. And then soon you should see the engines power up again. They throttle down to
And
what,
we've just
65%
passed
or
max
so.
Q.
Nice.
Coming up are 3 events in rapid succession.
Nice.
The first event is MECO, or main engine cutoff. This is where all 9 of the Merlin engines on the Falcon 9 first stage will shut down in preparation for the second event, which is stage separation. This is where the first and second stage will separate from one another. And a few seconds after that, we'll have a second engine start 1, where the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage will ignite to boost Dragon to low Earth orbit.
We have engines at full throttle
Again, that
now.
is main engine cutoff, stage separation, followed by second engine start on the second stage. Main engine cutoff should happen around the T plus 2 minute and 31 second mark.
Beautiful. Another 10 seconds of burn, and then the booster will head back. Or actually, head downrange, but back to the planet. And separation. There we go. Beautiful. And this works so well. The design SpaceX has put out there is just absolutely...
And you just saw on screen, successful main engine cutoff, stage separation, and ignition of our second stage.
Yeah, no one can do this. Have you seen it again? No one can do this.
So on screen right now, you have 2 different views. On the
There we
right-hand
go.
side is a view of our second stage Merlin vacuum engine. On top of that second stage is our Dragon vehicle. And on the left-hand side is a view from the top of our first stage looking downward. The first stage will continue its descent back towards Earth and attempt landing on our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, in a few minutes, while the second stage continues to take our Dragon vehicle to low Earth orbit.
Yeah, Rocket Lab is getting there. I wanted to say that.
If you are
Rocket
just
Lab is
joining us,
getting
this is
there.
the 21st commercial resupply mission for the International Space Station for NASA. This is also SpaceX's 24th launch this year.
Yep.
We're flying
Falcon
a
9 launch.
cargo configuration of our new Dragon spacecraft.
Absolutely awesome. It's already on 133 kilometers high. Almost 10,000 kilometers per hour.
Now looking on the left-hand side of your screen, the first stage, in order to make its way back to our drone ship, the first stage executes a series of 2 burns. The first burn is the entry burn, where 3 of the Merlin engines will reignite. This helps to slow the stage down as it re-enters the upper parts of the Earth's atmosphere. The second and final burn is the landing burn. This is a single engine burn that brings the vehicle speed down rapidly in order to land on our drone ship.
Yeah.
The first of those 2 burns, the stage 1 entry burn, should happen around the T plus 6.5 minute mark.
Nice. Look at that. Ah, there we see that. I wish I knew what kind of
Until
piece
then,
that
we get
is. You
some
see that
really
every
cool
time.
views of both the first and second stage. You notice that our grid fins on the first stage have also deployed. Those help to guide the first stage back during descent.
It comes from down here, and I've seen it many times. Exactly the same
You
piece.
can also see some periodic plumes of gas, that's nitrogen, coming from our attitude control systems. And those help to orient the first stage as it continues to fall back towards Earth.
Hey, Alex.
And there it goes.
Thank you. Very nice. Thanks for joining. That's the guy who made our episode intro. Alex Jobs, everybody. He did
We're
an
about a
absolutely
minute
awesome job.
away from the first of his 2 burns on the first stage. And just checking in with the second stage, everything seems to be looking nominal.
And there it goes. Very, very nice. Everything looks absolutely
Trajectory
awesome. and
nominal.
Spot on, as he just said. Trajectory nominal.
That engine that you see on the right-hand side can produce over 220,000 pounds of thrust in a vacuum. That single engine is what is carrying Dragon to low Earth orbit right now.
Now it's speeding up like crazy. The booster is actually reaching 6,000 kilometers per hour while going down again.
And we're just a few seconds away from our re-entry burn on the first stage. Watch for those 3 Merlin engines to relight and slow the stage down.
Perfect weather in the recovery area. The drone ship was slightly bobbing, but not
Stage
that much.
1 entry burn startup.
So
And there's our entry burn.
it should
Again,
do the
that's
trick. Yeah,
3
there you go.
engines slowing the first stage down before it hits that dense part of the Earth's atmosphere.
It's decelerating at about
Trajectory nominal.
5 Gs right now, which is a lot.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
And we are done with the first of 2 burns on the first stage.
Awesome.
The
Very
second
nice
burn, the
camera
landing
again.
burn, will happen at the T plus 8-minute and 18-second mark.
Awesome.
That second burn should last for about 25 seconds. And as that burn is happening, we should also be having another major event for the second stage, second engine cutoff. We'll see if we can hear that as the landing burn begins.
Coming up on the landing. Very, very nice. Flawless mission so far, and nothing to really report about. It's just out of the books. Really,
As we
really
wait
nice.
for this
Stage
landing
1 entry
burn,
transonic.
this is going to be our 68th attempt to recover our first stage, and we are going to be attempting to land on our drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. Of course, I still love you.
For those who do not know, the
Second stage and terminal guidance.
there you go. Landing burn.
Stage 1 landing burn startup.
Very nice.
And we got audio confirmation
STS is saved.
that the first stage has begun its landing burn.
And the landing burn starts at around
Everything's looking
1,800
great
meters.
on the second stage right now.
So it's already pretty low when it starts that.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
There you go. Come on.
There's a view from our drone ship.
That's
Here
the
comes
demo
Falcon
mission
9.
booster. And it's landed. There you go. Absolutely
Stay
awesome.
And Falcon 9 has landed once again. That is the 68th successful first stage recovery.
See
This
how it's
mission
bobbing?
also marks the 100th successful flight of Falcon 9. It's also the 35th time we've landed successfully on our drone ship. Of course, I still love you.
It's not in the
During
center
that landing, we did get confirmation of second stage, second engine cutoff. Also, confirmation of a good orbit.
I wish they would let that camera run
And
for a
second
little
stage
longer.
now has one last
Every
major
time.
task.
Because
Commanding
then you-
separation of Dragon just a few minutes from now.
Nice. Because then you could
We should
actually
have
see
a video
the
of
octograbber.
Dragon separation from the top of the second stage. It should give us a nice view into Dragon's unpressurized cargo trunk area.
It's a little robotic. It's called octograbber, and it robotically drives under the rocket and fixes it to the ship. It grabs it from below. And if they would let that camera run just a little bit
This is
longer,
an animation to show where each of the stages are currently in this mission. The
nice.
second stage has turned off its Merlin vacuum engine and is currently coasting, awaiting for Dragon separation.
I like the landing video.
There's a view of the unpressurized section of Dragon. Now, for a typical CRS mission, after Dragon deploys, we would be waiting for solar array deployment, but as a reminder, this is our new Dragon vehicle, and it has solar panels mounted along the surface of the trunk. You might be able to see it once Dragon separates, but those solar panels are already activated and producing power.
Yeah. The video footage from the drone ships should, by the way, improve a lot with Starlink.
We are about 45 seconds away from Dragon separation.
Oh, we're looking inside the trunk there. That is a beautiful picture. You were able to see
Again,
the
we are in a coast
nanorex.
phase. Even though the engines are
Bishop
not
Rock.
on, we are still coasting at pretty fast pace, 27,000 kilometers per hour.
Yeah, it's pretty fast. So if they show that camera again, you can see the. I didn't recognize it before. You can actually see the nanorex Bishop airlock that is going inside the trunk and is going to be mounted onto the International Space Station. There it is. So that's inside the trunk looking
And
upwards
we are
to the capsule, I think.
expecting Dragon separation just a few seconds from now.
Okay.
Dragon separation
Yep, there you
confirmed.
go. Beautiful.
And there is Dragon
Look at
separated
that.
from the second stage.
Yes.
What a cool view.
Yeah,
that is,
definitely.
if you've been following us, looks a lot different than our previous CRS missions. Dragon is carrying approximately 6,400 pounds of cargo to the International Space Station on this mission. A small portion of the cargo represents supplies for the astronauts, things like food and clothing, but most of the cargo represents science going up to the space station.
Yeah. And again,
The
that's
International
50%
Space
more
Station
than the
serves
old
as the world's leading
cargo bay.
laboratory for cutting-edge research and technology development that will enable human and robotic exploration of destinations beyond low Earth orbit,
see the
including
RCS
the Moon and even
firing.
Mars. The Dragon
Ah,
vehicle
beautiful.
is just beginning its journey. It has about 26 hours before reaching the space station.
Fantastic.
Next major event is nose cone deploy, and that's where we expose the guidance, navigation, and control sensors and docking mechanisms.
And about
We won't
75%
be
of
able
the
to see that
hardware
on
you just
camera.
saw is something
Should be
only
able to get
SpaceX can do.
confirmation of it.
Absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome. We saw the rocket land. We have a brand new cargo vehicle that is much larger than the old one. This is just absolutely fantastic. It's SpaceX doing another milestone, and they are doing that every month on a monthly
And we do
basis.
have confirmation of nose cone deploy, and Dragon is
Nice.
now, there it is. Dragon is now on its way to the space station. Again, over the next 26 hours, Dragon will perform a series of orbital height adjustment maneuvers with its Draco engines until it's within a few kilometers of the International Space Station and begins its autonomous docking process.
Yeah,
The
something
Dragon
new
is
again.
set to dock at 1:30 p.m. Eastern tomorrow and remain at the space station for more than 30 days before returning to Earth with research and return cargo. And there you have it, our fifth and final Dragon flight of 2020. With that, that's going to do it for us here at SpaceX today. We had an on-time liftoff from Kennedy Space Center, successful stage separation. We landed our first stage for the 68th time and successfully deployed our upgraded Dragon vehicle into orbit.
Absolutely
Today's mission
awesome.
also marked the 100th successful flight for Falcon 9. Dragon's arrival and docking to the space station will be streamed live starting tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Eastern on NASA TV. Dragon will spend, again, about 5 weeks attached to the space station before returning to Earth with cargo and research. Keep an eye out for mission updates on NASA and SpaceX's social media accounts. We want to give a big thanks to the Range and Federal Aviation Administration for their support today. And of course, finally, thank you to everyone that has joined and tuned in for today's launch. Until next time, have a great rest of your weekend.
All right. Absolutely awesome. Thank you, SpaceX. Docking is going to be around 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. So I'm gonna, as always, go back to the launch again to see that thing once more. This was an absolutely awesome milestone again. And like I said earlier, SpaceX is doing milestones right now, basically on a monthly basis, maybe on a weekly basis even. It's just insane. Here you can see that I couldn't say that before. The reason why they have instantaneous launch windows is because
Transporter erector.
rocket is being fueled up to the last, what, 30 seconds? Or no, actually, I think 2 minutes or so. And that is why it is an instantaneous launch window, because it's super cooled fluid. And that makes it just that little bit more dense and gives the power that little bit more payload capacity. And that's why they're doing that. And that's why it's always an instantaneous launch window with SpaceX. And so that means if they miss that launch window, it's gone. The rocket has to be emptied again, fuel has to be pumped out, and you have to do another launch. That's why that is. And here you can beautifully see second stage and first stage both fueled up. Very, very cold, ice building up on the outside and condensate, and here's it is one good looking rocket. All right, let's go to launch again and see that once more. Ah, look at that, beautiful. All right, perfect. Here we go. Here, this is what I was blabbering about probably badly over the SpaceX commentator, who I like so much more than the NASA guys, by the way. This is the Starship launch mount here, that thing down here that they started building, and from this distance it's really hard to tell if they are continuing it right now, but they have erected a tent, which is new. I'm working again, I'm sorry. Let's continue. Beautiful. I've driven by here on that road down there many times by now. Fantastic. Fourth flight. Very nice. Very nice. Isn't that awesome? And here you can see there's almost no clouds here. All our that we were so afraid about the weather. This is just perfect. Very nice. And if you take a bus tour through Kennedy Space Center, basically you can take the bus that goes down this road here, then goes over there. So you can basically, this is the crawler way, the shuttle crawler and Saturn V crawler way, and you can basically the bus just goes by the crawler way and then right next to the pad, and you can see all of it. It's beautiful. If you haven't done it yet and you can reach the Kennedy Space Center,
50 seconds into flight.
Absolutely awesome.
Falcon 9.
It's definitely worth it. All right, let's go to separation again real quick to see if we can spot that again. There you go. It's caching. Give it a second. There you go. There we go. Perfect. Second stage ignition. And you should instantly see some RCS firing from the booster. Actually, you don't.
Stage separation.
Ah, there we go. It's already tilting slightly.
Second stage.
Yeah. Perfect. Those are the RCS thrusters here, by the way. If I can stop this video real quick. Doesn't stop though. Something's wrong. There we go. These are the RCS thrusters, and the Starship is using the same thrusters, which is super interesting as well. Starhopper did. Starship doesn't use exactly the same system, but a very, very similar system.
The left-hand side is a view from the top of our first stage looking downward. The first stage will continue its descent back towards Earth.
This is really choppy. Why is it so choppy?
In a few minutes, while the second hear that as the landing burn begins. We got audio confirmation.
And like I said, the video broadcast from the drone ship should improve vastly with Starlink. I'm very much looking forward to that. I'm hoping that they're going to implement that on the drone ships. Landing lab deploy. And here he comes.
There's a view from our drone ship.
Beautiful.
Here comes Falcon 9.
Pico.
And it didn't land dead center on the barge and you can see it bobbing a little bit as well.
Falcon 9 has landed once again. That is the 68th Successful first stage recovery. This mission also marks the 100th successful flight of Falcon 9.
Does anybody know
It's
where
also
they
the
store
35th
the
time we've landed
octograbber on
successfully
the
on our
drone
drone
ship?
ship. Of course, I still love you.
I
During
don't.
that landing, we did get confirmation of second stage, second engine cutoff. Also,
Can't see it
confirmation
there.
of a good orbit.
All right, and then the deployment again, of course.
And
the
second stage now has one last major task.
main part of this
Landing
mission. And this is the Bishop
Dragon separation
airlock, the
confirmed.
Nanorex Bishop airlock that's going to
And
be installed on
there
the
is
International
Dragon
Space Station.
separated from the second stage.
Beautiful.
What a cool view. That is,
And it's
if you've
just
been
got 2 fins
following
here,
us,
as you can see.
looks
The
a lot
Crew
different
Dragon
than our
has 4
previous
fins.
CRS missions. Dragon is carrying approximately 6,400 pounds of cargo to the
Just
International
beautiful.
Space Station on this mission. A small portion of the cargo represents supplies for the astronauts, things like food and clothing,
Yeah.
but most of the cargo represents
Okay.
science.
So that is today's rocket launch. I think we were in for a really, really nice launch today. Thank you for watching it together with me. If you have any more questions, I don't have anything to do right now, so I would be streaming. If you have a few more questions, I'll answer them to you gladly, actually. If you have questions about the Crew Dragon, if you have questions about Falcon 9, about the Starship, what's going on there, I'm kind of informed about that. Yeah, awesome stream. Thank you, Space Alien. Thank you very much. This is the time when I can actually read the chat, because it's calmed down a little bit, so I can actually read it. Yeah, absolutely awesome launch. And now the next thing that definitely needs to come is the Starship launch. Hopefully soon. Yeah, Mr. Fallen. Exactly. If you become a member of the channel or a Patreon member, but in both cases you get access to the Discord, which is behind a paywall, but it's just $1 a month, and it keeps out all the trolls. It's so nice in there. We have a really, really nice community going on in there. I'm there every day, and I wouldn't want to miss a single person in there. Thank you to the team, and thank you to everybody from the Discord who's watching right now. It's probably quite a few of you out there. Thank you guys. Thank you, Mike and Fremrig and Split Second and Astronomy Films, right? Is he still there as well for moderating? Thank you very much. Awesome work again. Sabolch is here too. He's the head of our captions team. The reason Marco is here, very nice. The reason everybody's here. Thank you guys. Another Space Nut is here. I didn't even see you arrive. Very nice. Sabolch is the head of our captions team. He and Susie and Apo and probably 2 or 3 that I forgot now are the reason why we have like 8 to 10 different languages in the subtitles by now. That is all work that comes from the team, and it's just absolutely awesome. Thank you, Benny, for joining. Much appreciated. Yeah, absolutely awesome. Okay, let me real quick. I'm blabbering about the awesome team again. Seriously, guys, I thank you so much for what you're doing for the channel. I could never do this without you guys. Okay, so we have a few questions here still that I did not answer, and I hope that the people are still there, because we're dropping to 1,000 viewers right now, so the hardcore is still here. We have Epic Daniel. I think I've answered that already. Exactly. We have Debasish Root. I've answered that. We have Brandon Jones. Do you think Starship will land its hop? I would divide that into 3 different stages. First of all, it's the liftoff. Second is reaching apogee, and third would be coming down and landing again. I think launch, 100%. They've done hops before. The Raptor engine works. Everything's fine there. So we'll see it lift off once they push the button, of course. If they have a problem on the ground, of course, it can be scrubbed again. But if they push the button, it'll fly. Reaching apogee, I think, is 60 to 70%, because that puts a lot of stress on a still prototype engine. Musk has said that the serial number 8 engines aren't that mature yet. The serial number 9 engines will be more mature, so that is a weak spot. So it pushes down the percentage a little bit, like 60% or so, I think is. So it's still above 50 that it'll reach apogee, and then landing back on the ground with everything, with the free fall, with the belly flop maneuver, and everything. 25%. I'm not gonna say more because yeah, it's all prototype. It's never been done before, and the computer simulation only goes so far. They've done wind tunnel testings as well, but 25%. That's my final offer. I'm fingers crossed that it'll work out, but no matter what happens, each of those steps, a liftoff, reaching apogee, and landing back down again, will give them so much data. The best thing that can happen to SpaceX on that first Starship launch is that it takes as long as possible. The more flight time it does, the more data they have and the more they can improve. It doesn't matter if it crashes on the ground or whatever, because they have another 6 Starships in production right now. Serial number 9 is done and ready for launch, basically. So that doesn't really matter. It would be a pity if it would crash into the tank farm or anything, destroy infrastructure. That would take some time to fix it. But anything else doesn't really matter. And the longer it takes, yeah, 25, right? Robert, yeah, I'd say 25%. I don't give it more. But no matter what happens, SpaceX will profit. We will profit. Actually, honestly, it would be kind of cool if it would crash into the ground. I wouldn't mind that. If it doesn't hit any people and if it doesn't hit any infrastructure, go for it. It would be awesome to see. And SpaceX will get a lot of data, even from a failure. If a failure occurs now, it won't occur later when they do more advanced missions. So any failure that happens right now gives them the opportunity to get rid of the faulty part or faulty design or come up with a better idea. So yeah, good question. Thank you. Dita, does Felix take interest in majoring in engineering? No. I'm not a big fan of the school system in Germany. I was always self-taught and I enjoyed learning myself much more than at school. I, of course, was at school. I was at college. Actually, Abitur, which is a bit different than the US college, but most viewers are from the States, so I normally say college. But I never went to university because I have interests that are hard to find at a university. I never wanted to become an engineer. I never wanted to become an astrophysicist. Would be something that I would still be interested in. I was looking into maybe doing some school time for that because that would be very interesting, but it would just be hobby as a side thing, not to become an astrophysicist actually later on. I think I'm 40 years now, so that might be too old for that. I don't know. You tell me. I would be interested in that, but other than that, I wanted to do my own stuff, and so I didn't have time for school after I finished, and I never returned basically. So nope, no majoring in engineering. Oh, and I could definitely. I mean, this is a beautiful picture, but I could switch to the large one. There we go. Exactly. Okay, Mike Henning, thank you. Felix, love the vids. Brother, keep up the good work. Thank you, Mike, for joining. You're very, very welcome. And I'm not going to skip another episode for the Starship hop. I don't know when it's going to happen. So I'm just going to keep producing episodes until my Christmas leave. That is usually from the 24th until the first week of January, where I spend time with the family and don't produce any episodes. I'm thinking about doing a 2020 recap, which would be a passion project for me. I don't even expect many views for it, but I like doing these kinds of edits. So I might be doing that. But I'm not going to skip another episode for the Starship stream. So the stream is set up currently for Monday because I do not believe that there's going to be a launch today. If it is, I'm going to run and turn on the stream. But I'm going to keep producing the Tuesday episode on Monday. So yeah. The Friday episode never came out. Pichichi, I'm sorry, says, wouldn't it be more efficient to put fins and a heat shield on the lunar starship and let the entire ship return back to Earth and refuel it on Earth before going to the moon again? No, because anything you have to push into orbit takes a lot of energy. So if the lunar starship is only there to ferry people and cargo from Earth to the moon and land it there, it is better to keep it up there. And that's actually what I hope that the spaceflight industry is going to transition towards when they have starships. I'm very much looking forward to the first spaceship shipyard in orbit, because that is if you're able to, in the perfect scenario, you would be harvesting the resources in space, build the spaceships, and then launch them somewhere without having to get out of Earth's gravity well. That raises the capacity enormously. That's one of the reasons why the flights to Mars with the Starship are possible, because it's refueled in orbit, and then it goes to Mars with a full tank of propellant. So no, if you are using the lunar starship to ferry between Earth orbit and the lunar surface, do not land. That's the much better way. And it's a different concept. It's something they haven't done yet, which would be a new thing, which would be absolutely awesome. That would be the first space-based spaceship vehicle that we have. It does not return back to the surface, and it stays in service outside of the Earth, of Earth's atmosphere. That would be absolutely awesome. Another milestone for SpaceX. First. It's incredible what they're doing. It's just very, very, very good engineers over there. And it's not rocket scientists. Elon Musk tweeted something really, really nice a few days ago. He said that there are no rocket scientists, it's all rocket engineers. And I don't know how to translate it. I think he put that perfectly, because it's 95% engineering and 5% science in building rockets. So kudos to the SpaceX engineers. They are doing an absolutely awesome job. Absolutely awesome. They rock. Brandon Jones. Hey Felix, I had a chance to sit down and talk to an employee who was contracted by SpaceX, and he told me that the ring segments are only 4 millimeters. Yeah, 4 millimeters thick. Actually, not even 3.98. So almost 4 millimeters thick, which is actually, it's not that thin. It's stainless steel. So if you would use a different process of making the tank, it could withstand a lot more pressure. It's just that they want to build it with these segments that it goes up to 8.5, 9, maybe 10 bars to be on the safe side. But in theory, you could make a tank out of stainless steel that keeps 50, 60, 70 bars inside. But the way they are constructing it is in segments, and they want to keep it that way, which is part of the whole Starship idea, is to produce it in segments and maybe even be able to, that's a theory I have in my head right now, maybe even be able to replace the segments, like use a different engine section or use a different nose cone, stuff like that. We'll have to wait and see, but that would be the logical thing to do, in my opinion, if you have a segment-based Starship. But yeah, it's 3.98 millimeters right now. I think the 304L is a little thicker, I think, than the 304 or 301 that they used originally. Was 3.96, I think, and now it's 3.98 or so. So it's a fraction thicker than before. Yeah, it's not that thick. I think I even had a label that Mary from NASA Spaceflight was able to photograph. I had that on an episode. I think it was episode 135. I'm not sure though. Bimmer Jeezer. Felix and Split Second Mom, of course I still love you. Thank you very, very much. Entropy Generator. Does stage 2 deorbit now, or is it up there for a while? It does deorbit. Every Falcon 9 second or upper stage is deorbiting after it's done its job. It's separated, and then it uses the rest of the fuel inside. It turns around, decelerates, and deorbits. so they don't leave anything up there, or very, very, very little. Johnny Sell, hey Felix, Patreon supporter John here. Thank you very much for your support. Can you do a detailed video on Dragon XL? I would love to, but there is very little known about it. And your wife. My wife is coming back actually with her show. She's watching me right now, and she's probably cursing that I'm saying it live on the stream, but she is coming back in January. I'm going to make her come back because I loved what she did, the content she made, and I want her to do more. She really did a very unique and different approach, and I really, really liked it. So yeah, you better do it again in January. But Dragon XL, there's not much known about it. That's the biggest problem right now. I would love to do something about so many different things, but if it's just speculation, I mean, everybody who watches my episodes knows that I like speculating. Sometimes I'm wrong, like Team Water Tower, but that was seriously just because they have no flame diverter in there, and I still think it's a bad idea, but that's another thing. But if it's just speculation, I'm not going to do it. There needs to be some facts that you can connect the dots from, and Dragon XL there's not that much known yet. But as soon as there are solid concepts and stuff, I will definitely, because it's an interesting project, even though it is just for the lunar gateway, which now has been shifted again. But still, I think the Dragon XL would be a really nice thing to see. So we'll have to wait and see. It's a good question though. Thank you. Ron C, thank you very much for the super chat. It's much appreciated. Thank you. Could you talk about how Starship will get from Boca Chica to Kennedy Space Center for space launches? Will they transport in parts to Kennedy Space Center or hop to the Kennedy? So they won't be hopping to the Kennedy Space Center. I'm pretty sure about that. They would have to fly over Florida, and I don't think they're going to do that. The part, or the longest part of the trip, would be above the Gulf, but still, I don't think they're going to do that. I think they would transport it in one piece, slightly pressurized, so you can lay it on the side, and then by barge. The Boca Chica harbor is close by. I had that on an episode as well. They're building a road right now, an access road to the docks that they will use to transport starships either to Kennedy Space Center, which I actually don't think, because I think I'm still confused about where they're going to launch starships and super heavies, especially super heavies, because it's 28 Raptor engines and you need a huge exclusion zone, safety zone, to be able to launch it. And it's not really possible at the Kennedy Space Center. It's not even possible in Boca Chica, even though there is not that much around there. But there's South Padre and Brownsville, and it's a huge rocket. So the best way would definitely be the sea launch platform, and they are planning that. So my idea is that they are going to build starships in Boca Chica and elsewhere. I think Boca Chica can't grow large enough to completely accommodate the fast production process that Musk imagines right now. So they are going to produce starships elsewhere as well, and then they are going to transport them to the sea launch platform on a barge. I think that's the plan. And it's going to be super interesting to see it. Can't wait. But again, there's not much known. I've speculated about the sea launch platform with Nick Henning together. He's an absolutely awesome 3D animator who has done a lot of stuff for the channel. Thank you if you're watching this right now, or if you're watching later. You're doing an awesome job. And but still, there is not that much known yet. So I hate the fact that they didn't do a Starship presentation this year. That it's just going to be an article on the website, and they even had the Lunar Starship mock-up. I honestly don't know why they completely. I mean, it's COVID, makes it difficult, but even then, don't invite people. Just do a webcast or something. That would have been nice too, and maybe then Elon doesn't get that nervous because he stands in front of the camera alone. Might maybe turn out to be great. But just an article on the website, yeah, maybe a small island to launch from. Exactly. All that kind of stuff is possible. But of course, in the Gulf, all the old oil rigs are perfect. they could just buy, or actually, I'm pretty sure that if you go approach an oil company and tell them, I want one of your old oil rigs, they'll say, how much money do we have to give you so you take it from us? Because they recycling them, towing them somewhere and recycling them is insanely expensive. So they hate old oil rigs. And if SpaceX, would approach them and say, we need 2 or 3 of your old oil rigs, I'm pretty sure they'll find plenty of companies who would give them money to take the oil rigs from them. So, yeah, that's the way to go, I think. That would be a very logical and good way to go. Serial number 8, flight dates, December 7th and 8th. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, 7th and 8th it is. Ha! I was right. There is not going to be a Starship launch today. Flight restrictions are, yeah, okay. So it's, let me just, it's jump. There you go. It's the link was jumping. Let me go in there real quick. 1400 UTC ending at 2330 UTC. Yeah, sounds good to me. Yep. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow we'll have a Starship flight. That would be absolutely awesome. Gwynny! I would love to interview Gwyn Shotwell. Thank you very much, Mike, for the super chat. Much appreciated. Give me Gwynny! That is an insider because I am German and I did not know how to pronounce her name correctly, so I said Gwynny Shotwell, which I actually like better than Gwyn Shotwell still. But it's Gwyn Shotwell, and Mike always comes and says, say Gwynny! So there you go. And I would love to interview her. I said that before, I think maybe even more than Elon Musk. I mean, I would love to interview Elon Musk. Absolutely awesome guy. But Gwynny or Gwyn is the one that is less covered and in that regard more interesting to me. For an interview, that is. Not for talking on Twitter or for seeing Starship presentations or for building Starships, but definitely for getting new information. I think Gwyn Shotwell would be a very interesting interview partner. Very nice person too. Every interview I've seen of her, she looked very decent and very nice, and yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the super chat, Mike, for distracting me here. Oh, Paulus, thank you very much. The big island of Hawaii sea launch. Yeah, I have friends living on Hawaii. They would probably love that. You need to have some very little populated area. That's the problem. Hawaii, I think, is not. I mean, there are places on some of the Hawaiian islands, at least, that are less populated. But I don't know if Hawaii would be the. I mean, it would look beautiful, seeing a Starship launch out of Hawaii. That would be some lays around it, you know. It would be really cool. But I think, like I said, I think the sea launch platform, the old oil rig theory, is the one I am preferring right now. That I think that is a feasible thing. Could work. We have a question from Arayabus. Will SpaceX build a big factory in Boca Chica, eventually replacing the tents to make a clean environment free of dust, or they won't bother until after prototyping? Okay, so you've answered it yourself, I think. They will not bother until after prototyping. They will do it, though. But anyone who's seen RGB aerial photography's absolutely amazing aerial videos knows that there's not that much space there. So I think from a logistical standpoint, and I've said that many times before on episodes as well, Boca Chica is not the place to grow, really. So the logical approach would be to make a factory somewhere else, where you have a little bit more workforce, maybe as well, maybe Houston or something, and then ship it to your launch platform, and then launch it. I honestly, if I think about it from many different aspects, I don't know why SpaceX built in Boca Chica. Where is the benefit? I don't know. The first plan was to build Falcon or launch Falcon rockets from down there. So that could be one of the reasons why they chose Boca Chica, because that would have been great for Falcon rockets. But for Starships, it really isn't that much. Nightmare of regulations, even worse than Boca Chica. Yeah, that is a benefit in Boca Chica. Definitely, they have the county in their pocket basically because they are very important down there. Yeah. Still though, it's like half a meter above sea level, which is going to make it not the ideal place in 10 to 20 years, or maybe in 50 years. But still, if you build a big factory now and you can't use it anymore in 30, 40 years, and then you have very little space where you can grow. It's just that narrow little band of land, and even that is constantly changing. You have a hurricane and the coastline is different because it's so low above the sea level. I don't know. They're doing it now, and I love what they're doing, but I don't really know why they chose Boca Chica. If anybody, I mean, yeah, the regulations, but that's basically the only thing I can come up with. Closest to the equator. That doesn't make that big of a difference, though. I know everybody says it, and that's because earlier in spaceflight history, it was very important because the rockets had a very narrow margin for payload. They weren't as efficient as they are now, but really now it doesn't make that much of a difference anymore if you launch from Alaska. Or, well, Alaska it will, but it doesn't make much of a difference if it's a few hundred kilometers further up or further down. It doesn't really make that much of a difference, especially if you have a Starship that can refuel in space and that has 100 tons of payload capacity. You will find very few Starship launches in the future where they actually have 100 tons on board. It's the same with the Falcon rocket right now. They don't go up to max capacity normally. So you have plenty of margin. So you don't need to build next to the equator or as close as possible to the equator or anything. It makes sense to build at the coast because you can fly over the water and you can, maybe even more importantly, transport the hardware over the water because you have access to a harbor. But other than that, yeah, for polar orbits, they have to fly a different direction. That is why they fly polar orbits out of the west coast, because you can fly into a different direction. Because in general, you do not want to launch, if you're not Chinese, you do not want to launch a rocket over land. Because if something goes wrong, it crashes back down, it's terrible. It's like a giant bomb, basically. So you want to make it fly over the water until it's reached a certain height, and that's why they launch polar orbits out of the west coast and everything else out of the east coast. Normally they do, with very little exception. So it makes sense to build at the sea, but seriously, that's a question I've asked myself many times before: why they chose Boca Chica. You can launch to the south from Boca Chica, yeah. Yes, you can do that from Kennedy Space Center as well, though, or many, many other places. Huh. Yeah, the regulations. That's the one thing I can always come up with. It's a very infrastructure-wise. I've been there. It is a very little developed area. So if a big company comes in and says, we are going to build something revolutionary here and launch people to Mars, that pushes a lot of money in. And that's what the county, of course, loves. And that gives you a good stand. They can fill in those low areas with sand from the ocean if they get approval. Yes, but there's the next problem with Boca Chica. It is surrounded by a wildlife refuge. So that'll make it very, very difficult to just do what you just said. Fill these patches with sand is right now not an option. They won't be able to do that. The environmental impact assessment will be devastating if they would decide to do something like that. Grüße aus Rheinland-Pfalz. Grüße zurück. Thank you for joining. Let me see if I have another question in here. Payload capacity. Virak in Janka was asking, what will be the payload capacity, 100 or 150 tons? Right now, 100, aspirationally 120 20, I think, or something like that. But again, more important is the size of the fairing. And that will be huge, meaning you can transport all sorts of different things because you have a lot of space. The cargo capacity of a Starship will be more than enough, in my opinion. That's like a lot of cargo capacity, even 100 tons. So the large size of the fairing is the best thing about the Starship. Is that huge nose cone on top, because you can put if you imagine space station building with it, imagine science missions with it, anything, it just fits in, and that's the biggest trunk we've ever built for a rocket. And so that is expanding our abilities a lot. Very, very nice thing is the huge fairing. That is more important. People are always talking about the 100 tons or 150 tons of payload capacity. You do not reach that normally on a rocket. You would have to fill the whole thing up. You might be able to do that with Starlink satellites because they are small and you can stack them, and then you have almost the whole space inside filled with payload. But normally, if you shoot up, for example, a station module or something, it'll be far less than 100 tons. So, yeah. Big. It needs to be big, and that's what it is. That is very, very important. Okay. I'm trying to read the chat here. There were from Cargo Dragon that one. You're talking about the... Oh, that's a good one, actually. What's next after the 12.5 kilometer test flight? Yeah, first of all, it's got reduced from 15 to 12.5. That doesn't make a big difference, though. There were plenty of people asking why and talking about it, and it doesn't really... the reason could be anything, really, that SpaceX maybe doesn't trust the Raptor engines that much yet, because it'll quite a bit reduce the burn time. I think that's one of the reasons. But after that comes serial number 9 with more mature engines and better sealed nose cone and a few other smaller improvements. And then from there on, every Starship will be more successful, hopefully, better suited for the task. And so the prototyping, once serial number... We saw the same thing with serial number 5. Serial number 5, everybody was like, oh my god, it did the flight. And then serial number 6 actually was the more amazing flight, in my opinion. It was just much smoother, much quicker. The whole operation looked like a much more mature process, and that's what we're going to see after serial number 8. Serial number 8 is same picture again. They shift the launch over and over again because they are not sure about little details and they still want to improve something, and that is nerve-wracking for us, and trust me, probably also for the engineers. But after that, after serial number 8, we're going to see them. We're going to see, well, if it works, if it craters, that's a different thing. But if it does work, we're going to see more confidence. We're going to see faster processes and hopefully many more launches. I think this year it's the one launch. Next year, if we're lucky, 20, maybe even more, because they are building these prototypes so fast and they want to fly all of them. I talk about that on my episodes every time. I say, yeah, now we have serial number 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16 even in production right now. They want to fly all of these. They don't just build them to scrap them. So we are in for a lot of flights next year. This is the one flight this year, and then next year, hopefully by the middle of next year, maybe we're in orbit. Maybe we're in, of course, it's hard to say, but it might be. Maybe by the end of next year, we're in orbit. We're operational, doing our first Starlink mission with the Starship. We're going to sit here like we did today with the Cargo Dragon 2, and we're going to be cheering for a Starship on a sea launch platform that goes for the first Starlink launch. I mean, that's what comes after serial number 8. So it's going to be absolutely epic. I can't wait for it, to be honest. I've been imagining so many things. I'm so excited about what SpaceX is doing in Boca Chica. I can't wait to visit them again. Hopefully, early next year. Yeah, it's pretty amazing what they're doing down there. So share my videos to anybody who doesn't know about it yet, who speaks fluent English or any of the languages we have as captions. People need to know about this. in my opinion, far too little people know about this. If I talk to my neighbors here living around us, they are asking me what I'm doing because I don't leave for work in the morning. I work at home and I close the curtains twice a week to record something, and they don't know what I'm doing here. And then when they ask me, I say I'm talking about the Starship SpaceX is producing in the United States, and they're all like, they always have the same reaction. They are like, what are they doing? What is that? Oh, rocket. So really, we need to evangelize this thing. It's absolutely awesome what they're doing there. And I've had talks with tons of patrons, and especially on our Discord with people about that they are actually doing that they are approaching friends and sitting there together with them, watching my episodes, trying to teach them about what's happening there, because it's so absolutely important what SpaceX is doing there. And I'm already looking forward to seeing my first live stream from a Starship in transit to Mars together with you guys. That is going to be absolutely awesome. And if it works out, that's what we're in for. That's what comes after serial number 8. Not directly, but not too far out either. Few years. Imagine that. It's absolutely awesome. What are your thoughts about of Elon building super heavy and Starship at other locations? Yeah, I think they will have to do that. Like I said before, I think Boca Chica is too small. The area is, in my opinion at least, of course you can fill it up with sand or do something. It's really expensive though. It doesn't make much sense. And I mean, they had that before as well. Port of LA, I think it was. They wanted to build another Starship segment factory, and I think they're going to do that. They are going to have more locations where they build Starships. It's not only going to be Boca Chica. That would be really strange. Yeah, it's the first cargo resupply with Cargo Dragon 2, and if you've just joined, you've missed it. We've been watching the launch like an hour ago or so. We're just talking here right now. I always do that. For those who do not know my streams, who might watch it for the first time, that's what you're in for when you're watching a launch stream with me, because that is the best way to communicate with the community, in my opinion, is sitting down for a live stream. And I always do some talking, reading on the chat, trying to get together with you guys, because I actually love that you all joined me for another launch, and it was absolutely awesome. Thank you very much. No, it hasn't docked yet. It will dock tomorrow in about 24 hours. 1:30 p.m. Eastern time is about the time when it is going to dock with the ISS. Yeah, Christoph, which better launch site do you see in the US? Like I said, I think Houston, the general area of Houston would be good. I know regulations and so on, but I think it would be. That's a place where there's a lot of workforce. You can get a lot of talent in there. You can get talent from elsewhere to move there, which is really important too. If you ask a few of the Hawthorne rocket engineers if they want to move to Boca Chica, they will say no, because they want to stay in California, because they're having a great life there, and they don't want to move down there. It's a very different place, right next to the Mexican border. Very little infrastructure. I've been there. It's lots of mosquitoes. It's a beautiful beach, but only when there are no mosquitoes. And it's nice for bird watching. But if you want to do anything else, Boca Chica and the general area around it, South Padre is there, but that is basically tourist spot built for younger people in general, and most rocket engineers aren't 16 trying to get a cheap beer. Yeah, it's a difficult place to get talent to, and I think Houston would be much better suited for that. Houston, yeah. Haha, there it is again. Catman is asking the question that comes every time. Thank you for asking it. I would not go to Mars, because Mars is very far away, extremely cold, very hazardous. I have 3 kids and a wife. I would be away for at least 2.5 years. Moon. I'm always saying I would love to go to the moon. I would love to land on the moon, look at Earth from up there, and enjoy a week or 2 in a nice Hilton moon base or something. I would love to do that. But Mars, not for my generation, I think. The next generation, maybe the generation after, will actually have a nice time on Mars if Elon's plan works. But right now, Mars is for very, very tough people who have a master's in engineering, as we had the question earlier. 2.5 years on a very, very cold, barren, desolate. I mean, watching a sunset on Mars is probably going to be absolutely beautiful, but you have to take 2 years of excruciating journey to be able to see it. I'm not the person to climb up to Mount Everest either, and I'm pretty sure that a sunset up there is absolutely amazing as well. But I'm not climbing up there. And that's the same thing with Mars. Mars is not like we see it in the movies. It's going to be very dangerous, especially for the first few ships, when there's no infrastructure there yet. When you have this nice glass dome and you can go golfing in your 18-hole golf course, it's going to be lovely. But it isn't right now. It really isn't. You're going to be sitting in a metal tin can with little windows trying to survive. That's what Mars is going to be for the first generation. So these beautiful pictures that we saw last year on the Starship presentation, or actually was it? It was Making Humans Multiplanetary that Musk did there. That was 2016, I think. He showed these really nice renders of glass domes on Mars and that city growing bigger and bigger. That is into the future. By that time, I'm going to be 100 years old. And then I'm not going to fly to Mars either, probably. So, yeah, if I was 10 years old right now, maybe there are 10 or 15. I know a few 15-year-olds in the chat right now. I'm not going to name them. But I know some who are watching right now. And they are in for that, maybe. When they are 40, 50, 60 years old, if it works out, if Starship works out and Elon really pulls through with it and others pitch in as well, because it's not only going to be SpaceX, you cannot do that if it's only SpaceX, then, yeah, they might be enjoying that trip. But my generation, it's going to be really tough, that's for sure. So no Mars. How long will it take to fuel the Starship and Super Heavy? 5 flights. So you launch the Starship into Earth orbit, and then you have to launch 5 starships tanker starships to fill it up again, and then you can fly the Starship to Mars. So it's including everything. It's 6 launches until the Starship is on Mars, and then 1 launch back from Mars to Earth. That is the concept right now. Thank you, Andre, for the super chat. Very much appreciated. Hi, Felix. Following your great work. Great job you are doing from Romania, northern Transylvania. In your personal opinion, when do you think we will see Starship in orbit? Wishful thinking, end of next year. Realistic, the year after. But it's really hard to say. It could be summer next year, but that would be a crazy pace. I think realistically, end of next year. In orbit, with returning back to Earth. Well, actually, if you're just saying a first orbital flight without returning back to the planet, maybe sooner. But a complete cycle, launching, going to orbit, and returning back safely down to the planet, at least a year, I think, in my opinion. Yeah, I think that is. Yeah, somebody's even saying 2 years, exactly. It's first of all, it is really hard to say. It's a good question, but at least a year, maybe even more. Because what we've seen so far is that SpaceX announces something like the Starship flight, the Starship Serial number 8 flight right now, and then it gets pushed week by week by week, and then 2 or 3 months delayed it launches. That is not, that I'm not saying with any word that is a bad job by SpaceX or anything. Quite the opposite, actually. If you look at SLS, for example, it's been in development for the last 20 years, and it's known technology, and it hasn't taken off yet. So SpaceX is fast. It's just that Elon is even faster in his announcements. So he says mid next year we're going to be orbital, and then it's going to be the year after. So it's really hard to say right now. I'd say there's a chance to have it orbital by the end of the year, by the end of next year. I think that's possible. Paulus, thank you again for the super chat. Much appreciated. I have a theory for the first supply missions to Mars. Starship fuel tank and nose cone, cargo habitable, separation on Mars for security reasons. Why? Why? When the Starship lands on Mars, it'll be empty. So even the header tanks will be mostly empty. There won't be that much fuel left in it, because it comes in at a very high speed. Interplanetary transfer orbits are resulting in a very fast speed when it approaches Mars, and so it'll consume a lot of fuel only for the landing. Yeah, I think. Why is the question I would ask you. It would make the construction much more complex, and the more parts you have, the more stuff that can fail. And if it's not really, the best part is no part is something that Elon says a lot, and I love it. I even have it on a shirt that you can buy on my store, because I think it's one of the wisest things an engineer can say, is if you can, get rid of it. If it's possible to do the job without that part, get rid of it. By any chance, try to get it out there. Try to redesign the thing until you don't need that screw anymore, until you don't need that spring or anything. If the less parts you have, the less stuff can go wrong. So, and especially on a trip to Mars, you want nothing to go wrong. So it needs to be fairly simple. A good example would be electric cars and combustion cars. I loved driving my BMW 3 Series. Now I'm driving a Tesla Model 3, and I would never want to go back to an internal combustion engine, even though I love the sound of them, and I'm a huge fan of motorsports. I'm living right next to a famous racetrack, actually, and I enjoy doing that with the whole family, and so on and so on and so on. But an internal combustion engine has 2,500 moving parts. An electric car has 250. And that's the thing. The less parts you have, the more reliable the thing is. On a Tesla Model 3, you can just when you lift up the hood, you can do one thing. Put in wiper fluid. And that's it. On a normal ICE car, if you open up the hood, there's a lot of stuff you can do there, and it's all parts that are designed to fail after a while, that need to be refilled and maintained, and so on and so on and so on. So that's the perfect example, in my opinion, for the less parts you have, the more reliable the system is. So no detaching of tanks or anything. I think that would be a bad idea, honestly. I think even the landing legs, I've thought about that many times. I think it's not possible, but it would be great if you didn't need landing legs. If you would construct the hull in such a way that they had imagined in the beginning with the three fins, that the fins would be the landing legs, because that's not a moving part. You know, it is a moving part, but it just has hinges like this, and it doesn't need a system that makes the legs unfold and maybe a cover to shield them for re-entry and all that. All those are separate parts. And the more separate parts you have, the more parts can fail. And you don't want anything to fail on a landing leg. I'm pretty sure about that. So yeah, in general, the best part is no part. That is for sure. Bad bot. Okay, guys, I think why the test flight was delayed so long. Yeah, it's because it's prototyping. Don't be mad at SpaceX. Don't be mad at Elon. Don't be mad at the engineers. Don't think that it is a sign, that it actually won't work on anything. It's prototyping. In prototyping, you cannot look into the future. You have an idea, a concept, but it has not been tested yet. So, and as soon as your concept hits reality, it's going to dissolve. That is something somebody told me before, and I think that is a very wise thing to say. And that's the whole problem. It's prototyping. It's unforeseen stuff, and it's never tested, and it can always change. And who knows what's going to be tomorrow. Maybe Elon has already said that he wanted to originally, at the Starship presentation, show us the final design of the Starship. So obviously what we're seeing right now is not the final design. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said that. So it might even be that we see a different design in the future, that the fins change, that obviously the legs will change. All sorts of stuff can still happen. It's prototyping. And that's why the launch is being shifted, because they are working on systems that are needed for the launch. And then they implement something and somebody else checks and he says, nope, that's not going to work. And then they sit together again and come up with a new idea, implement it, test it. Nope, it doesn't work. And so on and so forth. It's prototyping. So it takes some time. Let's hope that it'll be tomorrow. I think it's not going to be tomorrow, to be honest, but I'm hoping for it, and my stream is still set for it. And all my fingers are crossed that it happens tomorrow, which would be absolutely awesome. But we'll have to wait and see. Maybe it's happening on Tuesday, maybe on Wednesday, maybe it's not happening next week. It's prototyping. We'll have to wait and see. It happens when it happens, and we can only cross our fingers and hope for the best. And I'm certainly hoping that it's going to launch tomorrow. Like I said, my stream is set up. Set your reminder, like it, because that helps others to find it. There's one thing I constantly fight as a YouTuber. It's called the YouTube algorithm, and you can comment, you can like, and you can share to help me with my work, because then the algorithm thinks, hey, that's good content. People like it. People comment on it. So that little push on that thumbs up symbol actually helps a lot. If you watch an episode of mine, like it. If you didn't like it, don't like it. But if you liked it, actually push the button, because it's important. The algorithm can't see you. Yeah, I'm blabbering again. That's the job of a YouTuber. Thank you all for joining me tonight. I'm gonna stop the stream now because my voice is already going away a little bit, and I'll have to stream tomorrow as well. Hopefully I'm gonna have to stream tomorrow. Go to the shop, dig up some t-shirts if you can. There's a 15% sale going on right now until Christmas. Become a member, become a Patreon, join us on the Discord after you've become a member or a patron. Don't forget to link your Discord profile. If you become a YouTube member, you have to do that in Discord. You have to link your YouTube profile. Or if you become a Patreon, you have to, on the Patreon page, link your YouTube profile. And then you get access to our Discord, where there's lots of chatter going on, and it's super, super awesome and very, very interesting. We even have rocket engineers in there, SpaceX employees, and 15-year-olds who are very enthusiastic about what's happening, and who have at that age already understood what is happening. So you find all sorts of people there. It's an awesome community. Other than that, I'm going to leave some music on, as always, so you can chat a little bit more for, like, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. And thank you very much for joining, and have a great evening. Bye-bye.
What about it? Go for launch.
We're go for launch. Looks like it's handled.
Ignition sequence start.
My name is Felix, and I am your host for today's episode of What About It? So let's dive right into the exciting news topics. Let's dive right in. Let's dive right in. Right in.
Ride it.
Let's dive.
Ride it. Ride it.
Let's dive.
Ride it.
You rock. My name is Felix and I am your host for today's episode of What About It? So let's dive right into the exciting news topics.
Let's dive right in. Let's dive right in. Right in. Starship updates. Right in. Let's dive. Right in. Right in. Let's dive. Right in. You rock.